When you hear Middle Ages, your mind probably defaults to images of mud, plague, and superstition. The Dark Ages, a simple dismissive label for 1,000 years of assumed ignorance and stagnation. You've been told a lie, a massive one. What if that entire narrative is one of the greatest misconceptions in history? In this so-called Dark Era, engineers created technology so profound that even today, with all our computer modeling, we struggle to match their genius? We are counting down 10 medieval inventions so far ahead of their time we still can't beat them, and the secret behind number 1 is a mystery modern science still hasn't fully solved. You have been lied to. We all have. When you hear Middle Ages, what do you think of? Plague? Ignorance? A dark age spanning 1,000 years where people lived in fear? That is exactly what textbooks want you to believe. But what if I told you that is one of the greatest historical hoaxes? What if I told you that, in that so-called long night, engineers created technologies that today, with our supercomputers, we still struggle to replicate? Our ancestors, in that 1,000 years, faced a harsh world with solutions far more reliable than our disposable stuff. They relied on 3 pillars: ingenious design, durable materials, and a deep understanding of the natural forces. Today, we will expose 10 medieval inventions that are unbeatable. And invention number 1, at the end of the video, it remains a mystery that modern science has not fully deciphered. To survive in that harsh world, our ancestors first had to conquer the earth itself. We begin with the invention so fundamental, it literally carved civilization from the soil. Forget the simple wooden sticks that humanity used to scratch the earth for thousands of years. Medieval Europe, especially the north, faced a deadly problem: the thick, heavy, and sticky clay soil. The land there was fertile, but too tough, too wet. Conventional plowing was completely useless. The solution was the heavy plow. It wasn't just bigger, it was smarter. It was a 3-part system working in absolute harmony. First was the coulter, a vertical knife that tore through the turf and hard soil. Next was the plowshare, cutting horizontally beneath the surface. And finally, the most ingenious part, the mold board. It was curved with mathematical precision to flip the heavy earth completely over, burying weeds underneath and bringing the fertile, aerated soil to the top. This wasn't just farming, this was terraforming. The dense forests and marshes of northern Europe suddenly became the breadbasket, creating the surplus that allowed cathedrals and universities to be born. Modern tractors with hundreds of horsepower are still using that exact 3-part system. The heavy plow fed the body and created the agricultural surplus that allowed for a class of thinkers. But that surplus time is useless if those thinkers lose their most valuable tool. From shaping the earth, we move to an invention that reshaped the human brain. Imagine this. You are a monk in 1280, spending your life copying manuscripts by flickering candlelight. By age 40, your eyes grow dim. Farsightedness, presbyopia, sets in. Your career, your life's work, is over. Then, somewhere around 1285, in northern Italy, an unknown genius solved the problem that had plagued humanity since the beginning: age-related vision loss. 2 carefully ground pieces of glass, held in a simple frame, eyeglasses. The technology seems almost laughably simple now, but its impact was revolutionary. For the first time in history, getting old did not mean the end of intellectual work. Scholars could keep reading. Scribes could keep writing. But the deeper revolution is this. It created the first truly literate aging population in history. The Great Renaissance? It happened because a generation of great minds could still read books at age 60. Today, over 2.5 billion people, 1/3 of humanity, are wearing medieval technology on their faces. Eyeglasses allowed a generation of scholars to read, write, and innovate. But all that accumulated knowledge depended on a society that wasn't starving. If eyeglasses saved knowledge, the next invention saved the very land that fed them. Long before sustainability became a buzzword, medieval farmers faced a vital problem. How do you feed a growing population without destroying the very land that feeds you? The Roman 2-field system was wasteful. Plant 1/2, let 1/2 rest. It wasted 50% of the land every year, and even that wasn't enough to keep the soil healthy. And then the three-field rotation system appeared. A stroke of genius. Divide your land into 3 parts. Plant one part with winter crops like wheat. Plant the second part with spring crops, like oats. Let the third part rest, follow, to recover, then rotate each year. The math was beautiful. Instead of losing 50% of your land, you only lost 33%. Production jumped 50% immediately. The real genius was in the crop selection. Winter and spring crops use different nutrients, naturally restoring the soil's health. Modern sustainable agriculture is essentially rediscovering the principles medieval farmers perfected 800 years ago. Transition. This agricultural revolution created mountains of grain, far more than any community could process by hand or with animals. They had mastered the land. Now they needed a new source of power to harness that bounty, so they sought to master something far more chaotic: the wind. Wind is chaos. It changes direction without warning. It dies to nothing, then roars back with destructive force. For most of history, this made wind power a fantasy. Medieval engineers in 12th century Europe solved this problem with the post-windmill. It is so clever that modern wind farms still can't match its adaptability. The entire mill house was balanced on one massive vertical post, allowing the whole structure to rotate 360 degrees. When the wind shifted, workers would simply push the entire mill until the sails faced the breeze. But the magic was inside. A complex system of wooden gears and shafts transferred the rotational motion from the horizontal sail axis to the vertical millstones below, requiring extremely precise engineering. Some of these mills ran continuously for 600 years with only basic maintenance. Compare that to modern turbines, which last only 20 to 25 years before becoming high-tech trash. The post-windmill became the engine of the local economy, grinding that surplus grain and powering workshops. But medieval ambition wasn't just local. From mastering the wind over the land, we moved to an invention that allowed them to master the vast, terrifying oceans. Imagine, you are lost at sea. No GPS, no radio, no landmarks, just endless water in every direction. For most of history, this was a death sentence. Medieval sailors solved this existential problem with a piece of magnetized iron floating in a bowl of water. The magnetic compass arrived in Europe around 1200, and everything changed forever. But the medieval version was more sophisticated than you think. It wasn't just a needle in water. Advanced versions used a needle delicately balanced on a pin, inside a sealed glass sphere filled with oil. This oil dampened the movement in rough seas and prevented the needle from being affected by the ship's rocking motion. The principle is simple, but creating a reliable compass required knowledge of metallurgy, precision mechanics, and fabrication. Your phone can die. Satellites can be jammed. But a medieval magnetic compass will work forever, anywhere, with no external power. The compass unlocked the entire globe, allowing empires to expand and trade routes to flourish. But expansion inevitably leads to conflict, and towering stone castles stood in the way. The compass helped humans conquer space, but the next invention helped them conquer walls by mastering gravity itself. Forget the image of catapults powered by twisted ropes. That technology was weak and inconsistent. The real challenge was this. How do you build a machine that can hurl a 150 kilograms, 330 pounds, stone, shatter a stone wall from 400 meters, a quarter mile away, again and again? With terrifying precision, the answer, appearing in the 12th century, was the counterweight trebuchet. Its only fuel, gravity itself. It is a massive lever. On the short end, a box filled with tons of stone. On the long end, a sling. When released, the energy was unleashed. But the magic is in the combination of two medieval innovations. The hinged counterweight, allowing it to drop vertically, which is more efficient, and the sling, which multiplied the projectile's speed, like a whip. This wasn't brute force. This was physics refined into a deadly art. The legendary Warwolf trebuchet was so terrifying that the defenders allegedly surrendered the moment they saw it being built. We never made it better. We just changed the game with gunpowder. Look up at the ceiling of a Gothic cathedral. Then look at the walls, which seem to be made more of glass than of stone. What is holding all this up? For millennia, the iron law of architecture was, if you want height, you need thick, heavy walls to counter the immense outward push of a stone roof. This meant buildings were inevitably dark and fortress-like. But Gothic architects had a revolutionary vision, churches that soared, filled with light. The solution was the flying buttress. It acts as a bridge for force. It catches the immense outward pressure from the roof, leaps across open space, and channels that force away from the wall and down into a massive external pier rooted safely in the earth. It is an external skeleton. Freed from their support duty, the walls could become thin curtains of stained glass. The pinnacles on top of the piers weren't just decorative, their weight pushed the pier more firmly into the ground, making the entire system even more stable. The flying buttress allowed architects to build physical monuments that scraped the sky, structures built on faith and daring engineering. But to truly reach for the heavens, you must first understand them. If the buttress was a colossal machine, the next invention is an entire universe you can hold in your hand. Don't let its size fool you. This device was a smartphone, GPS, calculator, and clock, all rolled into one intricate brass package. The astrolabe. The problem it solved was fundamental. How do you translate the complex 3D universe of the sky onto a portable 2D practical format? The solution, perfected in the medieval Islamic world, is a marvel. In essence, it is a 2D working map of the heavens. By holding it up and sighting a star with its ruler, you could determine the star's altitude. That one measurement unlocked a universe of information. By rotating the parts, you could instantly tell the local time, day, or night, determine your latitude on Earth, or even survey the height of a distant mountain. It is an analog computer that needs no power and has no software to crash. When you hold a phone and open a stargazing app, you are holding the direct digital descendant of the astrolabe. The astrolabe was a genius computer for a world where time was tied to the sun and stars. It told you the time by looking at the sky. But a growing society needed a new, mechanical rhythm, one that worked at night and indoors. The next invention did the opposite. It separated time from the heavens and put it on a wall for everyone. We arrive at number 1, a technology so advanced, so mathematically perfect, that modern architects still struggle to replicate its genius. It is the art of turning stone into light, the Gothic rose window. Stand in front of Notre Dame and look up. Massive circles of stone and glass, some over 12 meters, 40 feet in diameter, seemingly floating in walls that should have collapsed. The engineering challenge was staggering. How do you cut a giant hole in a load-bearing wall without the entire building collapsing? The solution was an intricate system of stone ribs, called tracery. Each rose window is essentially a giant stone computer, redistributing structural forces through pure geometry. Those patterns aren't just decoration, they are load-bearing mathematics carved in stone. Every curve, every intersection, is precisely calculated to handle stress while allowing maximum light to pass through. This structural genius, this load-bearing mathematics, is how they defied gravity and turned stone into lace. But if that engineering was astonishing, the real unsolved mystery lies in the material that filled those holes, the glass itself. The true mystery of the rose window lies in its glass technology. Medieval craftsmen created colored glass so chemically perfect, so optically pure, that we still don't fully understand their techniques. The legendary blue glass of Chartres Cathedral contains traces of cobalt processed in ways that modern chemists are still trying to reverse engineer. They weren't just beautiful, they were light amplifiers, manipulating how light behaved inside the cathedral. And here is the ultimate testament. When Notre Dame burned in 2019, after 8 centuries of weather and war, that horrific fire could not destroy them. In an age obsessed with LED screens, the rose window reminds us that the most advanced screen ever invented was made from sand, fire, and medieval genius. No electricity, no waste. That is technology we still can't beat. If you enjoy discovering hidden historical truths like this, hit the subscribe button for the channel. Thank you for joining us today. From the heavy plow, the eyeglasses, the sustainable farming system, the satellite-free compass, to the flying buttress, the mechanical clock, and the rose window. These are 10 inventions that powerfully rebut the lazy Dark Ages label. They show an era of vibrant innovation. The past is not a dark block, it is a place filled with light.